first technique you are going to practice is a continuous line drawing. For this, you need to make sure that your pencil does not leave the page, so you are continuously keeping that pencil and following the curves and forms of the shapes that you can see within your object. Please don't worry that this style can look a little bit messy, and it is a very quick drawing, so it should not take you any longer than 5 minutes. Make sure you don't take your pencil off the paper, but reference your image as you're working so you can capture the details. This is to reference the style of Georgina Luck, who creates an illustrative, loose line style. Before you start this task, make sure you have a good look at your object, consider the shapes and the details that you can see. Then you are going to close your eyes and you are going to draw from your memory what you can see, what you could see. You're going to try and remember as much details as you can, and you're also going to try and think about where those details and those particular elements sit within the object. This again is going to be a very quick study and should take not any longer than 5 minutes. I started by drawing a box very faintly to think about the size of my object. I then used this shape to work into to add in some of the outline. Now I'm working lightly so that in case I need to rub it out afterwards, and you are just thinking about the shapes. And because you're drawing from observation, you need to be constantly referencing your image. Consider the curved forms if you're looking at objects like bottles, and remember to curve those edges to think about the perspective of how you're viewing the object. So can you see the front of the object? Can you see the top of the object? You need to consider the perspective and the view of that object. For this section, I am measuring out the lettering, so I'm considering how many letters need to go into that shape. So I've broken it down and I'm working into those sections. This also helps me think about the size of the lettering so that they are all equal sizes. As you are working, reference your image so that you can start to consider any details and the accuracy of those details. Remember, you are sketching lightly. You can always go over your outline with more pressure once you are happy, and use your rubber to rub out anything if you are not happy with the shape or the size of your details that you are adding. Consider what details you need to add to start to make your object look three-dimensional. Remember that there are different sections, especially the way you are viewing the object. If you can see the top of the object, then you need to include this and consider the perspective of how you see the object. Once you've done this, you can start to see how your object will start to look more three-dimensional. then you can start to add in more detail. You are then going to add in some product design details. This will allow you to make your work look realistic. So if your object has particular lettering, has particular design details, particular patterns, then you need to add these in so that your image, it links to your reference image, and your object starts to look recognizable as the brand of the object. So you'll start to see in a second how I start to add some pattern into the shapes around the side of the lettering, so that you can start to see that it is the Lyle's golden syrup, which is the signature pattern that is on this object. You then want to refine some of your lines, especially where you have some sketchier sections. You want to make sure you've got nice, clear, smooth lines. So use your pencil to go over any sketchy areas so you have nice, strong outlines. You are now going to use the technique that you used in task 1. So you're going to go over your outline with a continuous line, and you are going to go over your outline so that you'll start to bring in the artistic style of Georgina Luck, who uses a more loose and abstract approach to line. So you are going to go over a lot of your lines with this continuous line style. Start to use a paintbrush to add coffee into the shadow areas of your object. So ignore where the light is reflecting on your object, leave those areas white. Just use the coffee to add in some shadow areas, just to add a bit of colour to your work as well. If you don't have coffee, please don't worry, you could add some pencil tone to your study instead. So this is just an optional process if you have coffee available. Please do not use boiling water. I would like you to just use warm water, as this will still dilute the coffee, and you will need to use a paintbrush to apply this to your work. You can tap the paintbrush really lightly on your hand to create the splatter effect in the style of the artist, but please be mindful of where you are in your house, and you don't want to flick it too hard because you might get coffee around where you're working.